Welcome back, Chico and the Grin, episode number
25.
25. And we are here and we are live. We are in Inwood recording. Thank you for joining us. I'm half your host. I'm Chico.
And I'm the Grin.
And we are coming to you from Inwood, like I just said. And we have quite a few things to talk about today.
Yeah.
Some stuff we forgot to talk about last week.
Yeah.
So why don't we just get right into it?
Let's jump into it.
All right. The Dolby Theater, Smalls, you changed my life with this.
Ha!
We mocked you.
Yes,
at first.
you did.
We made fun of you.
When he says we, he means him and microaggression.
Yeah. We thought John was just blowing smoke up our ass.
I don't play when it comes to the movies.
But it turns out that the Dolby Theater and the Dolby Theater experience is quite interesting.
It is worth the money.
It is. So we went to go see Solo in the Dolby Theater.
Yes.
We'll get to our review of Solo in a minute. But first, let's talk a little bit about the theater.
Yeah.
Tell me what your favorite things are, and I'll tell you what my favorite things are.
Okay, well, we also went to the movies last night.
We did.
And last night we didn't go to the Dolby Theater.
No, we did regular.
We went to a regular movie.
So we went to a regular movie in a regular-ass theater with some regular-ass people.
And this is why I like the Dolby Theater, because the person next to me, I couldn't use both armrests. I'm 6'3".
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yep.
I need elbow room. I can't be sitting all like I'm sitting next to you. You have your elbow, and I'm like, well, I don't want to be rude to you, you know. And then the next person, I'm like, well, they're kind of large. It's like
Kinda?
I'm like, what am I supposed to do? That's the perfect reason why I like the Dolby Theater. It's like even when you look at the seating maps, it's like 2 seats.
Yep.
You can't get 3 seats.
Nope.
You gotta get 2 seats.
2 seats.
That's it. 2 seats.
They go in groups of 2.
Groups of 2.
Yep.
I love it. You know, and then each seat, it's like just like I'm sitting on your couch. I can put my whole arm on an armrest.
From tricep to fingertip.
Whole arm, and I can recline, and I have leg room. Even if you're reclining, nobody has to get up
That's true.
to move their feet. You could just walk
in front of them.
I love it. It's kind of set up like Alamo Draft House.
Yeah.
You know, except a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't need the food when I eat it. I don't need the food at the movies anyway.
Yeah, me either.
I might need a beer or
Well,
something.
sometimes.
But, snacks.
Yeah.
But I love it because I go in there, I sit comfortably, I could stretch out like a 6'3" man, full comfort, and then the sound. The sound when you're watching a movie and the rumbling. It's one thing to have like the perfect Dolby experience and you hear it, but when you're in your chair and you're like, oh God,
yeah,
it's rumbling. It reminds me of like the first PlayStation 2. They had the rumbling control, the vibrating control.
The rumble.
It's
pack.
like that. It's like, oh my God,
It adds another dimension
man.
to the movie. No, you're right. The seats are I'm used the space in the seats I'm used to because the theaters that I go to over on the west side over here on
86, right?
86 has the same seats, but it's not special.
It's not the same.
But they recline and
It's not the same.
Well, it is in
Well,
a way. There's reclining seats and there's big and they're lush and they're comfortable, but there's no rumbling.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a regular theater with nice seats.
There's a theater on 3rd Avenue and 59th Street.
Mhm.
Does the same thing.
Right.
But it's not the same.
Right. So the Dolby Theater, it's a Dolby Theater because when you walk up, it's like all black and then they have these blue neon lights.
Yeah.
And it looks different. It doesn't
And
look
that
like
one
you're
just
walking in.
opened because
Yeah,
the
it's
first
brand
one
new.
was on. They only had one on 42nd,
Mhm.
and we went to the one on 34th, and that was just open because I was like, oh, this is new.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, because you got the tickets, you didn't even realize that was an option to go there. But we went the seats. And it's funny because the opening scene of Solo lended to the seats vibrating. Yeah. So I don't know if there's like a motor in the seat or if they just have these big ass speakers under the seat.
Speakers.
It's probably big speakers, right?
Yeah.
And when action happens on the screen, when there's bass, the entire chair rumbles, and
Yeah.
it really does
love
lend itself to the experience, especially if you're watching a movie that has a lot of explosions, or just like I can only imagine what it was like watching like Blade Runner 2049 in that theater, because the amount of noise and bass in that soundtrack probably would have like dislodged somebody's spine.
I watched Black Panther. That's what turned me on to it, and I was like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah,
This is awesome, man. I'm like, I'm never going back.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a step down going to watch Hotel Artemis in a normal theater.
It wasn't. I didn't see any movies because AMC for stub members on Tuesdays they have $5 movies.
Yeah,
but none of the $5 movies are Dolby Theater.
right.
None of them. So I was like, that kind of sucks.
Yeah. So let's get into our review of Solo.
Solo.
Okay, so for those who are listening that watch Star Wars or into Star Wars, Solo is a standalone film, just like Rogue One. It's part of the Star Wars canon. but these are in between the main episodes.
I think like Rogue One fit more into the storyline, and this was just like Solo.
Yeah, so
like
this is going to
semi-origin,
right? So this, and warning, there's going to be spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, you may
it still wasn't really his origin because they didn't say where he came from.
Right. Well, it's not really an origin. It's
just like
it's more about how he became a smuggler.
Yeah,
and then how he became
an outlaw.
Yeah, essentially.
And a pilot.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So if any of you have seen the movie and you've watched the Clone Wars series, the 3D animated series that was on Cartoon Network for a while, you know what happens in that show. And this movie shoehorns into that because with the ending, and we'll just skip right to the ending right now. Mm-hmm. At the ending of the movie, you see a hologram of Darth Maul.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't seen the Clone Wars, I'll tell you what happens pretty quick. During the Clone Wars series, Darth Maul actually survives his encounter with Obi-Wan Kenobi after he kills Qui-Gon Jinn. He gets cut in half, falls down this deep-ass hole in Naboo. He ends up falling into a waste carrier that takes him to another planet. I forget the name of the planet. And he actually survives by just sheer force of will and his hatred for Kenobi. He makes these mechanical spider legs out of all this garbage that he finds on this planet. That's a dump planet, essentially. He loses his mind. He goes crazy. He gets found by his brother, Darth Maul's brother, whose name is Salvage, who was an apprentice of Count Dooku. And long story short, Darth Maul becomes the leader of a crime syndicate that he took from the Mandalorians. And the crime syndicate is referenced throughout Solo. Red Dawn, is it? Yeah, Red Dawn. Red Dawn is the crime syndicate that was started by Darth Maul after he went out on a full-on attack against the other crime families, like the Hutts. So at the end of the movie, you see Darth Maul, and what I think they're setting up is the Obi-Wan Kenobi standalone movie, because we know that they've already contacted. I believe it's already finalized that Ewan McGregor is coming back to reprise the role.
That. And I also read that the guy who played Darth Maul in those prequels, he's going to come back.
Good, because I don't think that was him in the end of Solo. That was
just CGI.
Yeah, I think there was a different actor playing that Darth Maul. But Darth Maul is a fucking badass. If you watch Star Wars Rebels, which was
always like this.
Yeah, he's cool, and there's a lot of lore and things within the Star Wars story that you can get into about Darth Maul. Technically, he's not Sith anymore because Darth Sidious, who trained him, disowned him. And again, in the Clone Wars, Darth Sidious and Darth Maul fight, and he gets his ass kicked by Darth Sidious. Because Darth Sidious is an old man gangster. But aside from that, Darth Maul is on the hunt. And if you watch Star Wars Rebels on Disney, which is the latest Star Wars animated series, that was actually very good. Even for like a Disney show for kids, it was unbelievable, and it's canon. So if you're a Star Wars nerd, you should be watching it because it fits in. It's part of the entire storyline, the timeline.
Okay.
And this takes place. Rebels takes place after Rogue One or during Rogue One, right around that time.
Okay.
Because there's a droid in Rebels called Chopper. He looks like R2-D2. And in Rogue One, you see Chopper. You see him in the background. People pointed out it was an Easter egg. The guys who did Rogue One, you see Chopper in the background because they're all coming out of the same Rebel Alliance base. So it's pretty cool how all that fits in.
Okay.
But by showing Darth Maul, I think they're setting up the Kenobi movie because in the Kenobi movie, I'm pretty sure his main villain is going to be Darth Maul because in Rebels, Darth Maul shows up and they fight. Again. and at that time, Kenobi's an old man already.
Yeah.
And I don't want to ruin it. But it's bad. It's a really quick lightsaber fight. But when you see it, you're like this. Literally, my nipples got hard just talking about it. It's fantastic. But on to the movie about Solo. Solo itself was an okay movie. It was not as good as, in my opinion, as Rogue One.
Not even close.
I enjoyed it more than I enjoyed The Last Jedi. But to beat Rogue One is a hard thing because Rogue One really had everything going for it in terms of a Star Wars movie.
I watched it I think Empire was probably the most, and then Rogue One's probably the second. That's for movie-wise. How many?
Empire?
Yeah, like how many times I've rewatched it over and over again.
It's hard for me to tell because I've been watching these movies since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, I think in just pure what I've watched in terms of hours, I'm pretty sure I've watched A New Hope more than any other movie. simply because I had the VHS growing up as a kid, and that was the only Star Wars VHS I actually had. My parents, for some reason, didn't want to buy the other ones. Until I realized my cousin had Empire and Jedi, and then I would go to his house, and that's all I would watch.
I always like the Ewoks too.
Yeah, I think if you exclude A New Hope, I've probably watched Return of the Jedi the most, simply because I like the whole Dark Luke kind of thing going on there. I have watched the prequels a lot. I don't think they're great, but I enjoyed them. I enjoyed them.
Watchable.
The Phantom Menace is only cool because the fight scene with Darth Maul is awesome.
Yeah.
Clone Wars was okay, but I really only liked it because of the fight scene with Dooku and then Yoda going crazy, going ham.
I gotta finish those.
Yeah, and then, what's the third one? I forget now. Return of the Sith. No, the third one was Return of the Sith. Revenge of the Sith. Revenge of the Sith was good simply because the choreography and the fight scene with Kenobi and Anakin at the end was amazing.
Padme!
Yeah, he choked the shit out that. That really was terrible.
When he just, I'm like, really, man?
I don't know. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. But what were your thoughts overall on Solo?
Solo was entertaining. It was fun. I dozed off for a little bit just because I ate too much beforehand.
A little bit. You ate an entire skillet of nachos.
Yeah, I did that. It's kind of a bet, but I did it.
You did it.
But no, I mean, it was good. It wasn't great. I would see it again in the theaters just to see it again. You know, I think it was a pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean,
it was entertaining.
Donald Glover's performance was. What do you think of his performance as Lando?
You know, somebody had told me that they try to make him not bisexual, pansexual. I don't know the word, right? And I was like, you're an idiot. Because I was like, it doesn't even matter. Because if you watch the other movies with the real Billy D. Williams, he's a pimpy dude who wears purple and a cape.
He's just suave.
You know what I'm saying?
He's just suave.
And then when that, I ain't gonna say who it was, but when that person told me that, I was like, that's that social justice stuff. Like y'all digging too deep.
You looking too much.
Yeah, I was like,
just enjoy the movie. Enjoy the character for what the character is.
That character was Billy D. from the 80s.
Yes.
Who was just slinging
dick
all over the place and drinking Colt 45. All
Damn right. That's right.
Who he was.
Colt 45.
That's why the character is like that, because of Billy D. Williams.
The only reason why I ever drank Colt 45 is because of Billy D. Williams. When I saw those advertisements, I'm like, how can I not drink something that Lando Calrissian is telling me is fucking delicious?
He was also Harvey, not Keitel, Harvey in Batman, Two-Face guy.
Yeah.
Was it a Tim Burton one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was the mayor. Yeah, I remember that. So
Solo, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, overall, I think it's an enjoyable movie, and if you're a Star Wars fan, you're gonna enjoy it.
Don't nitpick.
Yeah, there's a lot of Easter eggs in there. So if you look around the movie, if you're a nerd, you're gonna see a lot of little Easter eggs.
I don't even get that.
I did. I got a lot of little Easter eggs.
I knew you were into it.
Oh, I'm so deep.
I was like,
I'm too deep.
I was like, one thing I didn't like. The story between him and the girl from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
I didn't like that too much. And I didn't like the way they use the Empire. The way they just had them around.
Right. Well, the Empire wasn't the focus of the story this time.
I know,
around.
But they were there.
Well, they've been around forever.
I know, but it's just.
Well, if you're gonna,
are we ever gonna find out where the Empire came from?
Well, we know where the Empire came from.
What do you mean?
The Empire came from after Revenge of the Sith, when Sidious took over the Republic. He created the Empire, and he became the sole leader of the Republic, but created the Empire as like the military force
after the Clone Wars.
Right. So they left
Order 66 and all that.
Right. So they left the Galactic Republic intact technically on Coruscant, but really the Empire was the one that had all the muscle. So he's a Supreme Chancellor.
Yeah.
And then he became the Emperor.
I forgot all that.
Yeah. And then in episode 7, Force Awakens, when they shoot that beam out of the planet and they destroy that big city, that's Coruscant. They destroy the Republic. And that's their big thing. They destroyed Coruscant. So the Empire's always been around. Ever since the prequels, the Empire is building up.
How come, since we're on Star Wars, how come somebody just doesn't destroy the place where they build their ships?
Because they build them all over the galaxy. They have, the Death Star was being built in a very remote location. The planet in Episode 7 in The Force Awakens was built in a remote place. Like, everything's built in separate places.
Even the spaceships and stuff?
I mean, Rogue One, they had that one planet where the girl's father was the scientist, the chief scientist, and they were building weaponry on that planet. And, it's a huge galaxy, so they were building different ships all over the place. So you can't really cripple them, so to speak. But yeah, I mean, so that's Solo. Go check it out. If you're a Star Wars fan, I think you'll enjoy it.
I still think Rogue One is one of the best.
I agree.
Overall, hands down, it was just like perfect movie.
Yep. It had the tone of a Star Wars movie, and it didn't have a single lightsaber in it, which is good because you think of Star Wars, you think lightsabers. You think Jedis. You think lightsaber battles.
No, it did because they had Vader in the end.
Okay, all right.
So technically, yes, they did.
Yeah, but they had they not had that part, it still would have been a solid movie on its own.
Yes, very much.
But they had to put
They could even cut that scene.
Right. Well, they had to put that to link into A New Hope.
But they could have cut it and be like, oh, God.
Yeah. On its own, it's an amazing movie. Even the way it ended was tragic, but it was a Star Wars feeling.
You know they were selling those jackets? I think the brand Columbia, they had the license, and they were making, like, the actual jackets that they, like, the... I don't know her name. I want to say Ray, but it's not Ray.
No. I know who you're talking about. The girl from Rogue One.
Queso. No, Queso was a robot.
Yeah. K9. Yeah.
Jin Oso.
Oso, yeah.
Jin Oso. Yeah. Her jacket, the other guy, the Spanish guy, his jacket.
Cassian?
Yeah, Cassian. It was like 3 of them, but they were selling them.
Really?
Like, they had a whole photo shoot and everything. And I was like...
I did not know about that.
Oh, I was like, I don't know.
How expensive are those jackets?
I didn't check. They look legit. And it was Columbia, so that's like a good sports brand.
Right. Damn, I would have bought one of those.
Yeah, it was like a couple years ago when it came out. I'm pretty sure you can still find it.
Yeah, eBay.
But it was a small collection.
That's
for the movie.
Interesting. Okay. So Han Solo, go check it out. Next movie we saw last night, we ended up going with a bunch of people that I work with. They tagged along. We went to go see Hotel Artemis. We paid $5 because we're Stubbs members.
That's right.
So if you're not a Stubbs member, I highly recommend you do every Tuesday, $5 tickets.
It's worth it.
It's worth it. So you can go see a bad movie and only pay $5. It's not that big of a deal.
Just might have to sit next to a lot of people.
Or a small amount of large people, which is the same thing, if you think about it. So Hotel Artemis, for those who don't know, a lot of people are saying that it's just a blatant ripoff of the idea from John Wick.
Yeah.
At first, it seems that way. But when you go, it's different. It's a much more stripped-down concept.
I still say the idea of the Continental is there.
Oh, of course.
You know?
Absolutely. But and it's something that caters to criminals.
Yeah. So there's too many similarities.
Yeah.
But the one thing I really appreciated about the movie is that they just and I hope people keep doing this, because if you think about it, Ridley Scott did this with Aliens. The original, like he just threw them in space. He threw the ship out there. He threw the aliens. They didn't like back in the day. They didn't explain all these movies the way they explain them nowadays. They just start
you at a point and go.
Yeah, and it's like a lot of good movies start off that way, and you have to figure stuff out. And if you don't, you don't. But that's what makes it a good movie. Is like you just build up these questions.
But that could also go terribly wrong.
It could
if you're not real on top of what's happening.
So I think Hotel Artemis, they stuck to that. They gave us a little too much details on stuff that didn't matter. But overall, I appreciated the fact that it was just this world that we're getting a glimpse of.
Right.
That goal, it's the future. Everything is jacked. They're fighting over water. You got the global warming and all this stuff. And then like crime. It's just like it's a world that exists, and these are people that are living in it.
What I like about it is that, like you said, it's a world that you're thrust into.
Yeah.
It's a world that seems very realistic because it doesn't seem like that's very far off from where we could be in a couple years.
Yeah.
And it is like, you're right.
California has no water.
Yeah, it's true. A lot of great movies start that way, where it's just like, bam, you're in the action, or you're in the dialogue, or you're in the scene, and it goes. And as the movie progresses, the storytelling kind of takes you along, and as it goes, you figure things out from little clues, things people say. You piece together a little bit of a backstory. Now, the problem with Hotel Artemis is that they thrust you into a story, and they give you different storylines that end up not mattering at all.
Yep.
So, again, spoiler alert: if you haven't watched it, there's two things. There's there's in the beginning, it starts off with a robbery scene, and one of the characters steals like a pen out of a guy's pocket. Now, inside the pen, it turns out to be a safe, a vault of some kind, with very rare yellow diamonds that are worth like $18 million. That pen turns out to belong to the mob boss who basically
We're telling you the whole movie right here.
That basically runs the entire LA scene. That pen is built up to mean something so important.
But it doesn't.
It doesn't. It ends up not meaning anything. So Hotel Artemis is essentially a hotel that criminals can be members of. And when they get hurt, they come there, and the nurse there, who's played by Jodie Foster, will fix them up. So and
there was multiple places because that girl, she shows her wrist.
Right.
It's like, oh, you've been out to all these places. This was here. This was here. So it's like this whole network of
it's
hospitals.
Just like the Continental, there's a network of hotels.
Yeah.
So there's a network of black rooms, what they call, or dark rooms is what they call them. So dark rooms is dark hospitals. So there's other patients or criminals that are there at the time, and there's a riot breaking out in L.A. And all this stuff happens. This little pen vault is like, they kind of allude to the fact that maybe that's the reason why, and again, spoiler alert, the villain, who's called the Wolf King, is Jeff Goldblum. And it turns out that Jeff Goldblum is coming to this hotel because he's been hurt.
Yep.
But they don't mention that he's hurt. They just mention that he's coming.
Yeah.
And the story makes you kind of believe that it's because they want that pen back.
Yeah.
But in reality, it has nothing to do with it. He's actually just been injured. One of the other guests that's there is there to kill the Wolf King, which doesn't really make sense either. Then there's
Charlie. Well, it does, unless she set him up.
Right.
To get injured in the first place, to come here, and then she was like, she shot, because she said she shot herself. Again, fuck it.
Yeah.
You know in the movie.
Right.
But she even said, like, she shot herself to get to the hospital.
Yeah,
to record the...
Right, she's a hired assassin.
Yeah.
And then you have the guy who plays Charlie from It's Always Sunny.
I like him.
I do. He's a good actor.
Yeah.
He's there, and he's just a generic white criminal. I don't understand why. And then he was just killed halfway through the movie. What else? There's a cop that shows up who Jodie Foster apparently knows from when she was a little girl.
Yeah, that was nonsense.
Essentially, the cop was friends with Jodie Foster's son in the movie. The son died, and the only reason why that female cop was in the movie, and the reason why they made her like such a big deal, was so that they could introduce Jodie Foster's backstory, which links into the Wolf King, which doesn't make sense because you could do without that entire storyline and still have Jeff Goldblum play that same character without any of that backstory.
They could have cut out the everything with the cop. Just
cut it out, and you would have made the movie like 25 minutes shorter.
It was the whole scene. Every part that she was in was just unnecessary.
Absolutely, I don't understand why that was. I don't know. I enjoyed Hotel Artemis for the semi-realism of it, the idea of a riot in Los Angeles over something.
Boutella.
Right.
Sophia Boutella.
The Egyptian girl who was in The Mummy and in what was the movie she was in? She was in The Mummy, and she was
Atomic Blonde.
Atomic Blonde, right?
She's been in a few stuff.
Yeah,
Star Trek.
Yep, she's been in a few features. But yeah, I thought it was okay. Dave Bautista was in it. He, I like him as an actor. He's great in Guardians of the Galaxy.
He's a giant.
He is fucking enormous. He's a purple belt in jiu-jitsu too.
Yeah.
So he legit knows some shit. He's just a big guy. Just a big dude, and he's funny because he had a hardcore California Mexican accent. Did you hear that?
The Cholo.
The Cholo accent. He's like, "Do you see this badge? You know what that means? I'm a healthcare provider. I take this shit seriously." I was like, "Damn, he's real serious about being a healthcare provider. I can lose this shit." And it's just funny seeing him in Scrubs talking like that. It's just ridiculous. What about you? What are your other thoughts on the movie?
It was fun.
It was a fun movie.
Yeah, it was a fun movie.
And for $5, you can't really go wrong.
Nah, it was fun. It was more drama than I expected.
Yeah,
that's for sure. I thought it was gonna be a lot more action. It was just
really thought
a lot of this like the emotional stuff between the brothers, the guy who got kicked out.
Yeah,
it's like
I really feel like if they made it like a hyper violent movie, like John Wick or the Deathwish movie, where people just getting shot in the face. We gotta talk about Deathwish.
We could talk about Deathwish.
That
was a great movie.
That was a movie that was
damn, that was a great movie.
So let's finish with Artemis. You should go see it. If I'm gonna give it a rating out of 10, I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. just slightly above average, just slightly above halfway okay. What about you? If you had to give it a 1 to 10 score?
Yeah, I'll say 6.5 or 7.
Okay, that's not bad.
Right?
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna swerve into
One more thing.
Yep.
Mad Max Black and Chrome Edition.
Yep.
Watch it.
Go watch that.
I watched that thing since I downloaded it maybe 20 times. It is just awesome in black and white. Trust me, it is so much better.
I'm definitely gonna take you up on that and check that out. So we totally almost forgot about Deathwish, but we're gonna talk about it. So Deathwish was remade with Bruce Willis.
Yep.
For those who don't know, Deathwish was a movie from the 70s, I believe.
Charles Bronson.
Right, with Charles Bronson.
The Bronx.
Right. And it takes place in New York. The old original ones take place in New York City in the 70s.
Yeah.
When New York City was dark and scary and grimy.
The Bronx.
When the Bronx was very dangerous. When New York City in general wasn't really the safest place. When they had the highest murder rates in the country.
Yep.
That movie made sense to be in New York City at that point. It's remade now, Bruce Willis, in Chicago, where Chicago now has the highest murder rate in the United States. And just a quick run through, Bruce Willis is a surgeon in Chicago.
Yep.
His wife and his daughter are at home when it's burglarized by criminals. His wife is murdered and his daughter shot in the head. And from there, it's a slippery slope. And the movie takes you through some themes that are current throughout. John's looking at my cat pillow. Listen, that was we have one with a dog too. We're equal opportunity household. We have a pillow with a picture of a dog on it. That's fine. See, just the cat got mad at you because you're mocking her pillow. And the movie takes you through a couple of themes. First, let me thank John for making sure I watched this movie because when it came out, I totally disregarded it because it looked hokey as shit.
Why did I watch it?
I don't know.
Somebody said
you
something.
You just told me about it. And you're like, oh, I watched Deathwish.
I think I might have watched it just. Right. It was in HD online.
Yeah. So I went ahead and I
random. Just.
Yep. It's funny after you told me that after we chatted about it. I was watching TV and I have On Demand, and I went to the On Demand to go watch Picasso, and it suggested Deathwish is now available, and I'm like, that's weird. That's weird that I didn't like that. But I watched it, and for me, I have different criteria for different movies.
Okay.
I have different expectations for different movies. I know when I go see a movie that I feel like is going to be one of those movies that gets an Oscar, I go in there with a higher bar to rate it against.
Okay.
Whereas if I go to watch a movie like John Wick or Hotel Artemis or Deathwish, I'm not so much gauging on movies like how's the acting, how's the storytelling.
Yeah.
Like,
you're looking at other things.
I'm going to go see a fun movie. I'm going to go see a movie that's going to make me feel good, or I'm going to have a good time watching, and I'm going to be, when I'm done with it, I'm like, that was fun. That was enjoyable.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a line or two I can recite from there and just quote, right? And we know Bruce Willis is great at making movies like that.
Yeah.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. Right?
Classic.
Who are you, John Wayne? I'm more of a Roy Rogers kind of guy. There's things like that, So Deathwish takes place in Chicago, and their themes, right? So he learned after his wife's murder.
Gun control.
Gun control comes up.
A lot. Yeah, man.
The idea of being self-sufficient.
Yep.
And being responsible for the protection of yourself and your family.
Not relying on the police because they will not help you.
Right. Their response.
Not even that they will not help you. They can help you.
They can help you.
Like legally, it's like they're relying on people to help them.
Yep.
If nobody's talking, what can they do?
Exactly.
And then they get another case,
and
another case,
and they mentioned
case.
That. And they showed that in one of the scenes where Bruce Willis goes into the detective's office, and there's this whole wall of unsolved murders because nobody wants to talk to the police.
He's like, what can I do?
He's like, I can't do anything. People need to help.
Yep.
So you see this movie, and it's very violent, but you think about it, you're like, if you're at home, if your family's at home, who's responsible for the protection? Because he lived in a very rich neighborhood.
Yeah. Upper class.
If you live in an area like that, and it's a little different if you live in New York City, right? Because everything's compact, everybody's close.
Yeah.
So if you call the police, on average, I think response time in New York City for
it's not bad.
It's like 4 minutes. It's very quick.
It's good because it's like cops everywhere.
Right.
Precincts everywhere.
In a place like that, even in a place like this, if somebody's in here attacking you and you call the police, you still have to wait. You still have to survive 4 minutes, and a lot can happen in 4 minutes, especially if somebody has a gun. In a place like Chicago where he lived, he was in a very suburban area. He had a big house in the middle of nowhere. if they called the cops, how long would it take realistically for the cops to get to your place?
Wow.
Right, and it talks about that, like the whole gun control thing. Like, if you had a gun in the house, it's your responsibility to defend your family and defend your property.
But they didn't have a gun in the house.
Nope, he did not. And earlier in the scene, they showed he was a pacifist when that guy was at the soccer game, being rude and yelling at him and threatening to fight him, and he backed down, which is fine, but it speaks to the character of the person. And then what happens, it talks about being pushed to an edge when nobody can help you.
It was a nice little evolution,
And it even took you to the propaganda of the gun lobby.
Yep.
With like the YouTube gun sensation and stuff like that, like the hot girl selling guns on YouTube, and he walks in to get it. Like, it takes you through all this whole process, even about how he, like, everybody he killed in the movie, he killed them with an illegal gun that he got off a criminal. And then at the end, to cover his ass, he went and bought a gun at a gun store.
Yep.
And the gun that he killed the people who broke into his house, he used his legal gun. The only thing I didn't like, though, was at the end when he shot the guy with the AR-15. It was a full auto AR-15. That's definitely not legal in any state. So I don't know how he got away with that. But it's a movie, so I'm gonna let it slide. But that ending scene where the girl walks down, he kicks the chair, and it's one of those tactical tables where when you kick it, the gun drops out the bottom. He just picks it up with one hand and just machine guns this dude. I definitely got an erection when I watched that. I'm not even gonna pretend I didn't, but I was like, that was satisfying.
I like how the movie posed a lot of questions.
It did.
Just as a citizen who, like, that's something we always talk about, being self-reliant, independent. And I think this movie went there in a real logical way. And I also enjoyed how during the cutscenes in the movie they had Sway in the morning, who's a radio show host.
Yeah, so that's Deathwish. So we've got some other stuff on the agenda, stuff that is not so fun.
Dun, dun.
Yeah, stuff that is a little on
what is happening this week?
Darker side of things. Anthony Bourdain,
yes,
killed himself. The famed and very loved celebrity chef,
yes,
TV host, no reservations. Apparently,
jiu-jitsu advocate for elderly old men.
Recent jiu-jitsu advocate. Yep.
Last couple years.
Yeah, still pretty new. He's only blue belt. Not to talk bad about the dead, but he was found in Paris.
Yes.
He hung himself.
Yes.
Lots of different reasons why people are throwing around why he did that.
Yep.
Very sad. Everybody's, he was a
likable guy.
Yeah. Parts unknown, no reservations, great TV shows. It wasn't just about food. It was about culture. It was about learning about other people. Like you said, he was a jiu-jitsu guy. Pretty prominent in the jiu-jitsu community. Everybody knew him. Well, for the most part.
True New Yorker.
Very, very much a New Yorker.
I love this book. It's Confidential.
Yeah. As fancy of places he would go to eat, you could also find him at Gray's Papaya getting a hot dog and french fries.
Yeah.
Very down-to-earth guy. And it's sad, but, they're saying that the reason why he did it, or the reason why, what led up to it was, he's dating this new girl.
Yeah.
And she apparently got photographed by a paparazzi holding some other dude's hand. And he saw that, and he just, he's always struggled with addiction and depression. And he decided to end it, which is strange because everybody who spoke to him leading up to this said that he had never been happier. Even in an interview, he had mentioned that he was so happy that he was, in love with this girl and life was going great. And he had no he seemed genuinely happy. And, it just, shit happens.
I don't know him personally. I only know him as a celebrity. But it is one of those cases that it's going to linger for a long time. It's like Kurt Cobain when he shot himself. There's so many inconsistencies with that, right? That it still lingers to this day. It's like, did he do it or did somebody else do it?
Yep.
And stage it. And I think Anthony Bourdain is going to go down that same route. It's like people are going to be like, this dude was just so likable, so positive.
Yep.
So for him to go around and do this,
it's so out of character.
Yeah, man. It's gonna people just gonna speculate.
Yeah. It's strange because he made his past very open. Like people knew he struggled with heroin. He has an addictive personality. He's always had like depression. But for somebody who's had those problems and to make it to 61 years old, it's pretty good. And to make it that far and then suddenly decide to go now, it's very
after having like a family.
Yeah, after having
children,
a daughter. Yeah, success in
success.
all these different areas.
He would always post about he used to wake up early in the morning or be up like overnight, be up early in the morning in some alley waiting for like dope. And then now he's like getting up, waiting in an alley to go to jujitsu because he'd be waiting by like a door entrance. He would always take pictures like that. He's like, he's changed a lot. Like for me, I never understand suicide. And I say I don't understand it because like I've been down those dark roads, that dark path in life. I've just the way I've grown up and dealt with my own personal trauma. And at one point I've actually thought about it.
Really?
Yeah, man. I've been in some dark places. And I don't mean like physical places. I mean like mentally. You go to a dark place within yourself. And for me, it's like I brung my own self out of that shit because I was like, I don't want my thing was like I didn't want my little sister to remember me as this dude who killed himself. That's what saved me at one point. And then just like thinking about how I wanted to be remembered, because once you do that, that's all people are going to remember about you, no matter what.
Right.
They're always going to, well, he killed himself. And right now, it's like people are remembering Anthony Bourdain for the great things, but later on, it's all they're gonna talk about is like he killed himself. Mm-hmm. And that sucks because that destroys your legacy.
It does. It's such a strong thing to do.
Yeah.
To take your own life when you're at the height of success. I understand
people have trauma and people have depression, but man, personally, I've seen people deal with like horrible stuff, horrific stuff, and still survive, right? So when I see celebrities, and I'm not trying to take a jab at him in particularly, but when I see celebrities who have all the means and opportunities in the world to get help and to actually do things, to get therapy, because let's be honest, people can't afford therapy.
Right.
Your insurance doesn't cover that, right? So to do all these things, or even to get prescription drugs to feel better, like for me, it's just like I don't understand it because you have all these opportunities and options to improve your life, and you choose not to. That's why, like for him in particular, I'm like, it doesn't smell right to me.
Yeah. It's there's a lot of, I mean, I don't know if we want to get down the road of these conspiracy theories.
No, let's not. Let's just keep it on the surface level.
Right. But there's a lot of things being thrown out about what may have happened, what could have happened.
I say it was Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah, I
said that from the beginning. Because his girlfriend, she was one of the main ones going after him, man.
And her best friend was Rose McGowan.
And as soon as I found out that this dude was dead, I was like, come on.
And he recently spoke out. He spoke out about Weinstein.
He spoke out about him a lot.
Yeah, big time.
And I was like, Harvey Weinstein has pull, man. He has power and he has money. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying he did it, but I was like, for me, that was the first idea that popped in my head. Because out of everybody who kills himself, Anthony Bourdain, and like I said, I don't know him, but from what I know of him, it's like you said, it's out of character.
Right. From a public perspective, it's out of character. Absolutely. I don't know.
Like, dude, he's 61.
Mm-hmm. You would think somebody who's at 61 years old, if he was dating this girl and he saw that she was cheating on him with some guy, I would feel like a 61-year-old man who's been through the stuff he's been through would have not taken it that hard. Or if he did, he would have known how to handle it.
It doesn't even, like, if anything, a bender.
Maybe.
Now, the way he died was on prescription medications. Now, it's possible he could have overdosed.
Well, they said he hung himself.
That's not what I read.
I read that he hung himself.
I read it was prescription medications.
I don't believe so. Let me check this right now, since I have my handy-dandy laptop out. But I believe people are saying that he... let's see here. Give me one moment, folks. So...
What does it say?
It says... Yep, Anthony Bourdain hung himself with a bathrobe belt.
Wow.
That was 4 days ago.
What the hell did I read that said prescriptions?
And that's on TMZ, and then E! Online and NY Post have the same thing. Wow. It's a bathrobe. Yeah. And the French authority said that there was no... The French authorities were very quick to say that it was absolutely 100% a suicide. No question about it. Yeah.
Fuck them.
Yeah, well, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I don't know. The conspiracy theories that I've been reading on it are very interesting. And like other celebrity suicides that have happened in the past couple of years, Chris Cornell, Chester Bennington from Lincoln Park, all of them seem to have this same kind of thing.
Connection.
Yeah, there's connections, but there's also like you have successful people. You have Chester, who's in Lincoln Park, one of the biggest bands.
Yeah, but he also had a hard life. He had a rough life.
Yeah, no, he did.
That's where his music came from.
Right, of course. But he had other connections to other things, allegedly.
Yeah.
Chris Cornell, somebody who's been in
one of the
biggest bands in the world.
Yeah,
Soundgarden. You know, one of the biggest grunge bands. He offs himself, and he was older too. It's strange that older people are doing this. You find mostly younger people who, like, if you're looking at celebrities who commit suicide, it's usually younger people.
Yep.
It's usually by accident.
And it's a violent way to die.
Yeah. Hanging yourself is is very painful. It's suffering. It's a very suffering act to strangulate yourself and then like hang yourself with a bathrobe or a cord or something. That's not a good way to go. You're not found in you don't look great when they find you.
Which is why I still say like I don't understand suicide. You know, and I've had this conversation with like some very close friends, man, and you know, in like mental disease, I have that in my family. You know, like seriously, you know, and people deal with different things, and there's trauma. You know, you grow up in a certain area, you become PTSD from the trauma and the shit that you got to deal with, whether it's murders, rapes, drugs, all the intense violence that goes on. Like this is serious shit.
Yeah. And
still, I don't see people like in those worst situations offing themselves. So for me, like I said, it's just like I don't get it. Like it's like I don't get when a celebrity does something stupid and goes to jail. I'm like, why would you do that?
I agree.
Like I don't get it. Like you have everything, man. So what is offing yourself gonna do?
It's just I don't know. I think there's a level of I think there's just like a level of depression that you hit, and nobody can really relate, I guess, unless they've been there, and that's when that thought makes sense. Because in reality, the idea doesn't make any sense until you have to be in a very altered mental state for that to be something that in your mind would be like, well, this is clearly the answer. This is the best answer I've got.
Like for me, it would be like life in prison or life on death row.
That sounds pretty fucking terrible too.
I would do it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we all have a certain situation where we'd be like, you know, what's the alternative? How would you rather die? Would you rather be burned alive or drowned? And most people are like, just give me a gun. I'll just shoot myself if those are my only two options. Yeah. It's dark. It's very dark. But that, you know, and it's becoming much more popular. It seems like celebrities who just can't cope are just.
It's like I told you in microaggression a few times already, like in our group chat. I was like, if anything ever happens to me, man, I die of a suicide, it's not me, you know? And I say that, you know, I know everybody was thinking I was being funny about it, but I was serious. I was like, just in case if it ever comes up, oh, John, he went out and he offed himself. I'm like, no, I will never do that. So if I did something like that, it's a setup. I found like something that I shouldn't have found, and somebody got me, because there's no way in hell I'm doing that.
They got you. They fucking got you, John Smalls. Yeah.
But I said that because it's true. It's like, sometimes look at how people die, man, especially when we get into conspiracies and stuff like that. It happens.
Yep.
And what's one thing people always say, like, they never seem like the person that would kill themselves.
Yep.
And they do it. And I'm like, and people get so dismissive of that. Oh, but you don't know what they're suffering from. I'm like, maybe they were just fucking killed.
Yeah, maybe.
You know?
Maybe they just cut off. Yeah. It's
like I said, Anthony Bourdain is going to be one of those celebrities who's people are always gonna question it from now on.
Yeah, because it's so odd. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, that just fucking sucks. It just seems like more and more celebrities are doing this.
Another thing I want to talk about around the same subject is like people, they're always posting the suicide prevention hotline, which I think is 100% bullshit. Not the hotline, but the fact that people are posting it. Because like I said, man, I've been down that dark place, you know. I spent like a few years down there. And the one thing that I always wanted during that time was just like, I mean, now I have it, but during that time was just like to be able to really and truly talk to somebody, you know. And there's like, and I'm speaking from my experience. It's like, I'm not going to call a stranger and talk to them.
Yeah.
There was one time when I was younger, and again, I was in a bad place when I was younger, and I called one of these lines, and it was like, they were saying something. I was like, I'm just having these problems, right? And trying to talk to the person on the phone, and they're not. They can't relate to me because I'm a kid from the city,
right?
And I don't know where they're from. But I'm like, why? And then I'm like, why am I even talking to you on the phone? This is like when I was a teenager living in Vegas,
right?
I was like, why am I even talking to you? Because it wasn't Boys Town. It was like some line they were just. It was like some thing on TV they kept playing, right? And but yeah, I was like, why am I even talking to you? Because you can't relate to me at all. And when I see people repost a telephone number for like suicide prevention hotlines, I'm like, nah, what we need to do is reach out to people, you know, like really talk to people and connect. Like I have a few friends that were always on Facebook, and they always, you know, people. That's why I said it before. I hate Facebook, but people go on Facebook and they vent. For some reason, that website, they vent.
That's right. It attracts.
So whenever I see one of my friends post something, I feel like, okay, you're really hurt about something, and you're just posting for attention. I contact them immediately, whether it's a phone call or whether it's a text, and I'm just like, yo, come to my place. Let's make some art. I'll get some beer, food. We just chill. Make some art, right? And all the time, it's like they like, no, I'm okay. I'm like, well, you seem like something's up, and I don't try to push, but I'm like, it seems like something's up with you,
right?
You know, and I'm taking this as seriously. Like, you're going online, you're posting this shit for attention. What's up? Like, cause something's bothering you. Cause I would hate to be like, oh, they off themselves. I'm like, well, nobody did anything. Nobody was there for. I'm like, nah, I was there for you.
Yeah.
You know, and I take that to heart with my friends. I'm like, any of them, I found out, oh, like I remember we had one mutual friend who moved to Jersey.
Okay.
Right. You know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
And one time he had said something, and I was like, and I think he was joking, but I was like, yo, dude, don't play like that. Don't say things like that, because I would hate for something to happen, and you're just like, you're hurt, but really you're trying to play it off like as a joke.
Right.
Like,
you don't want to.
If you're hurt, if somebody says something to hurt your feelings, regardless of our age, and we're men, speak about that shit, man. Don't let it just sit and fester in your brain, and then something bad happens, and like, you know,
no one was there for him.
Yeah, man.
There's signs. I mean, I've had 2 friends who've committed suicide, and it's always a shock, and it's always because again, it's people that you would never think would do that. You know, and I had a pretty good friend a couple years ago do that, and he hung himself, and it was super sad. I didn't even go to the funeral because it was too much. You know, again, he seemed like he was one of the funniest people I knew. He super nice kid from Staten Island, just a great kid. He had problems like everybody else, but
I'll tell you a story. I don't know if you were there that night. I'm not going to say any names, but you might have been there that night. I'm not sure. It was mutual friends. So we were just at somebody's house. I think it was the Japanese guy.
Okay.
So it was a group of us just hanging out, drinking, nothing crazy. Everybody's just chilling, right? And then I started talking to this one guy, and I'm just like, I could tell something was bothering him because he kept asking me like certain questions, and I was like, I don't know you, but you seem like you want to talk. You know what I mean?
Right.
You just like you want a conversation. So I was like, fine, let's talk. Because I was older. I'm older than him, so I just picked up on it. So we're just talking, and it goes from like a general like introduction, how you doing, like stuff, it's just basic art type stuff to like it gets serious. So I'm just like, okay, I'm listening. The more he's letting stuff out, so I was like, let me just keep this dude talking because something's up with this guy. Something's not right. So like, let me just keep him talking. So he keeps talking, and then everybody's like, what y'all talking about? And he's like, well, we just having a conversation, right? Because it was weird. It was like two guys talking amongst, like not a party, but amongst a group of people.
Right.
So I was like, yo, why don't we just go out in the hallway and we talk? Then it could be like a little bit more just personal, I guess.
Sure.
So again, we go out in the hallway. I'm like, yo, man, so tell me, what's really going on? And he's getting more and more serious, and just like, I was like, all right, come to find out, some shit happened to his family down, let's say, outside the country.
Okay.
Right. I don't want to give like specific details.
Sure, of course.
All right. So some shit happened with his family where half of them got murdered.
Whoa. Jesus.
Yeah, man, it was rough, and he told me in detail and like all this stuff. Just all. I was like, he's like, yeah, and it was like, but it was there were so many different layers to the stuff that he was just keeping to himself, and I understand because people can't relate to that, and I was like, I couldn't even relate to that,
right?
But I was like, I understood that he needed to talk and he needed to let this off his chest. So I was like, I'm gonna be here for this dude. So we talked for about at least an hour, maybe 2 hours. It's in the hallway. And he breaks down, man, just starts crying. And I'm just like, just let it out, dude. Like everything that, and he felt like during the end, he felt better. Right. And I told him, I was like, you ain't got shit to be embarrassed about, dude. Something was eating at your soul and you had to let it out because you didn't know what to do with it. I've been there. You know, I haven't been in his shoes per se, but I know what pain looks like. So then I remember the next day, he sends me a message. He's like, "Yo, I was drunk." I was like, "Dude, don't do that shit. Don't try to play it off. Like you were hurting. You need somebody to talk to. I was there, and you're alive today. That's all that matters."
That's a pretty touching story.
It was. I wish I could share the details, but I don't want to.
Pretty sure I wasn't there for that.
It was, man. It was like, it was intense, and I was just like, my whole thing was, you need somebody to talk to. That's all. That's all I knew, man. I was like, you need, and everybody. I'm telling you, everybody was making fun that we were just talking. Right. I was like, chill. This dude's hurt. You know what I'm saying? Like he had like something's up with this dude, and I never met him before that night. And I was like, something's not right. This dude needs to listen. I mean, like you see a grown man cry. It's not like, you know what I'm saying? Like when my boys cry in front of me, it's because like it's some serious shit. Yeah. It's like a grown man's just not going to break down and cry like that. Yeah.
Well, this new generation might.
Yeah, well, that's different.
Right.
But like, you know, and I was like, yo, man, if you just fuck it.
Yeah. I mean, they say that for people who are depressed, the best thing they can do is talk to somebody. But you see that a lot on Facebook when stuff like this happens. You know, they say check on your friends. You don't know what people are going through, but you can only. I mean,
you only can do so much.
You can only do so much, and you can't. Like, how weird would it be if you start asking your friends, like, "Hey, are you depressed?" And people, the majority of them are probably gonna be like, "No, I'm fine." Even the ones that are depressed and who do need are probably not going to be comfortable talking to you about that kind of stuff. So, I mean, if you are listening and you are depressed, you should probably reach out and speak to a professional or find a friend and, you know, just tell them you need to talk. But if I mean, I've had very, very mild bouts of depression, nothing serious at all. And I just put that shit away. I just think about it and the way I deal with any kind of situation where I feel sad or anything like that. I just look at my life and be like, what do I have to be sad about? That's what that's what I do. I look at my life. I'm like, am I healthy? Do I have a job? Do I have some people who love me? Do I have, you know, am I helping other people?
But that's the key. That's the thing right there. A lot of people, myself included, when I was in that headspace, it was like I felt alone.
Right. Did you feel like you had a sense of purpose?
At those moments, no. You know, like for me, it was like when I I had a like my first marriage, it was rough, man. When it was over, it was like it was just rough. It destroyed me, my art, everything, and I rebuilt myself because of that. But it was like those years were rough. The way I grew up was rough, and being alone and during those times was just horrific. To go through like the things that I went through as a teenager, and have absolutely no person to speak to about it. It was like, what am I doing, man?
Yeah.
You know, it's like the mental health stuff that goes on in my family is deep, serious, some serious shit. And all I can do is just try to be there for the people.
You know? Yeah. I mean, all you can
do, man.
All you can do is be there for your friends. If
that's what I say, like the suicide prevention hotline, like, no, reach out to people, man.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, check in on your fucking friends and your family. The ones who, like, just check in on them, man. And if they say something that's just some off remark, like, yo, what's going on? You know, like seriously, you're scaring me and shit.
Yeah. I don't know. There's part of me that agrees with you, and there's another part of me that's like, well, if somebody wants to kill themselves, maybe you should just let them do it. Free will.
I think if people really want to do it, then they'll do it.
Right.
You can't stop that.
No.
I'm not talking about preventing everything.
That's
but sometimes people just need
a
person to talk to.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
I agree. Yeah. What else?
We went from movies
to depression. To darkness. I did want to talk about one thing before we wrapped up for today.
Let's do it.
Nachos. You are
of everything we discussed pre this podcast. You want to talk about nachos?
Yes.
God damn it!
So I was informed by you when we went to go see Solo that you had a nacho blog, and that nachos are a big passion of yours.
Yeah. This was before food blogging was even a word or a phrase. Phrase.
So take us through
Blogspot.
Take us through your obsession with nachos in New York City.
I was always on the internet since like I found the internet, right? So always doing like different type of sites, and then Blogspot was cool because it was like, oh, this was before WordPress, way before WordPress. So Blogspot was like legit bloggers, right? And Tumblr wasn't even big back then. I think Tumblr was just coming about. So I had a few blogs. I know I had an art blog, and then I think I switched it over and made a nacho blog. Or it's so long ago. I know I called it a Ronin Report. Anyways, it was called Ronin Report off of the back of the comic or the graphic novels of Lone Wolf and Cub. Mm-hmm. They would have this section called the Ronin Report, and it was written by I think it was the author of the comic. Right. It was like this. It was either like brief. What was it? I think it was like brief information or something about like a backstory. It's just this little stuff they would have called the Ronin Report. Right. Because Lone Wolf and Cub was a Ronin. Anyways, I love that. That was the name of my blog spot. So on it was like art and just random photos that I would have to upload manually with my camera because you didn't have like Instagram and stuff. So you had to take photos with your camera and then upload them. And it was cool. I was just creative with it, right? Cooking and stuff. So then the nacho thing came about because I know I was with Chris Cortez. We had him on a podcast.
Episode 17.
Yeah, I think I know he was with a girl who was also a blogger. I think they gave me the idea. I think his girlfriend might have gave me the idea because I know every time we went out to a bar and we would order food, I would always order the nachos. And the reason I would always order nachos because it's like the one thing they can't fuck up.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah, but I was like, yeah. So I know they picked up on that. It's like, oh, you always order nachos, blah blah blah. I was like, I'm gonna put a blog about it. Right. So the thing was, I went around basically all of Manhattan. You know, I lived in Brooklyn at the time, but it was mostly Manhattan, and going to like all these restaurants and bars, and I would order nachos, write about it. And I remember once I was contacted. I was contacted by Mercury Bar on 3rd Avenue because I wrote something about them, and I was like, they started following me on social media.
Oh shit!
I was like, that's kind of cool because they had like a humongous plate for $10.
Right.
I mean, it was deep. It was like a big plate, and I was like, I loved it, right? And they had for a while they had the perfect ones, and then there was a spot called Virgil's Grill. It was like a barbecue spot in a Times Square area. I think like 44th or something like that. I don't know if it's still open, but they had brisket nachos, what blew my mind. I was like, you put brisket on your nachos?
They took it to the next level.
I was like, oh, it was like $15.
That's not bad.
Because you know nachos are always an appetizer.
Right.
But I loved it. You give me that and a beer and I'm good. So yeah, I was doing that for a while. So then, I know why you bring it up. So the night of, we went to go see Solo.
Yep.
There's a bar by Steve's place by where the day job, and he's been talking about they have this big, humongous cast iron skillet full of nachos, which it was huge, right?
Yeah.
But I went into the bar before, and he asked the waitress about it. She was like, "Oh yeah, it's big, it's super big, blah blah blah. You're not gonna finish it." And I'm like, "All right, whatever. I'm 6'3", 220 pounds. I think I could take it down." So
I really didn't think that you'd be able to do the whole thing. I thought you'd get a good way through it.
Yeah.
But you cleaned the skillet. You cleaned the entire skillet.
Yeah. So and then the day we went there and I ordered it, even the was it the owner? Or the main bartender, I guess.
I don't think he's probably like related to the owner, if I had to guess.
But he was even surprised when I ordered it, and then when I finished it, he was like, "Damn!" And I was like, "Yeah, man."
I can tell you, I ordered that one time because I was supposed to go. There were some people from work, and they bailed on me the last minute. So I said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna order the nachos," not knowing how big it was. And when it came, I got about halfway through, and I was like, I couldn't finish it.
But you know what? The nachos are also why I fell asleep during the movie theater.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, it was a lot.
It's a lot of food.
But the only reason I finished it because I was like, well, y'all hyped it up so much, I have to finish it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I forced myself.
You almost tapped out there at the end. I was like, there's still chips in that skillet.
I mean, that was gluttonous. I stuffed myself.
But were they good?
Yeah.
On a scale, if you had to rate it 1 out of 5.
1 out of 5, I would say it was a 4.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And I've got some good news for you.
What?
Virgil's is still there.
Oh, wow.
And they have the barbecue nachos. Barbecued pulled chicken, Carolina pulled pork, Texas beef brisket.
Wow.
So guess where we're going to be going soon.
Wow. You know what? I might have to start this again and post it on the website, the Chico and the Grin website.
Absolutely. We could do a whole section on our food reviews.
We still have to put up the book list.
Yeah, we still got to get
book list and movie list.
We got to get around to that for sure. But nachos coming soon. Virgil's Barbecue. Virgil's Real Barbecue.
Oh, what was the name of the bar? McGarry's?
Oh, Twins.
Twins
is the bar that has the skillet of nachos.
Yes.
So there's 2 locations for Virgil's Real Barbecue. There's one in Times Square by 44th Street, and then there's one in Las Vegas. So I guess
we're going to the one on 44th Street.
I would hope so. Let's see. Let me get you the exact address here. Location, Times Square, New York City.
It was near the old...
Oh, and there's also one in the Bahamas.
Huh?
So if you're in the Bahamas, you can go there. They are at 152 West 44th Street. And, let them know Chico and the Grin sent you.
Everybody who?
Exactly. Anything else you want to touch on today?
Nah, that's it, man.
All right. Well, you know what time it is? It's time to pay some bills. This episode of Chico and the Grin is brought to you by Gold Bond.
Nobody.
Gold Bond, actually. Do you have some stank feet? I also suffer from some stank feet, and so does Shaquille O'Neal. If you have stinky foot...
How are you endorsed by Gold Bond?
If you have stinky foot-itis, get yourself some Gold Bond. You will have fresh feet just like a baby. I'm kidding. We're not sponsored by anybody.
You just give them a free ad.
I think what we're going to start doing from now on is when we close the episode, I'm just going to throw out a fake ad, and hopefully one of these motherfuckers hears us and is like, you know what? That's actually pretty funny. We're going to sponsor that episode. Just putting it out there into the universe, hoping...
Speak it into reality.
Speak it into reality. The Oprah
Mercury's
Winfrey.
in retrograde.
That's right. Mercury's in retrograde. Celebrities are dying. We want nachos. We're out here. So thank you for joining us on episode number 25. We're a quarter way to 100 episodes. We're halfway to 50. We're going to do it. John's cracking up.
He said a quarter away.
We're quarter of the way to 100.
Oh, quarter of the way.
Quarter of the way to 100 episodes.
I was like, your math is off.
A little bit. Math's a little off. It's all good, though. If you've enjoyed this episode of Chico and the Grin, please feel free to leave us a review on iTunes or Google Play or wherever you get your fine podcasts from. Every review helps.
What's the next movie?
The next movie we're going to watch?
The Purge.
The new Purge, Wasp and the Ant-Man and the Wasp. There's a couple movies that are coming out that I thought were pretty cool.
Purge.
The Purge for sure, but there's another movie that we saw a trailer for yesterday that looked pretty cool. Shit. I forgot which one it was.
Skyscraper?
Definitely not Skyscraper. Fuck that. That movie was so fucking bad. That movie looks so bad.
Oh, no. Was it the computer movie? With John... what's that dude? He's a comedian guy. Funny guy. John Chow?
Yes. The
John,
movie.
it's John Chow, right?
No, it's something Chow. No, well, no,
his real name is like John Chow. He went to Rutgers.
Right, but he was in The Hangover, Mr. Chow. He was
not him. That's Ken Jeong.
Oh yeah, I'm getting my Chinese people confused.
Nah, this.
Oh
dude,
yeah, yes, the one from White Castle from
Harold and Kumar.
Harold and Kumar, yeah.
I think it was John Chow.
Yeah, it is John Chow. That one looks good.
I know he went to Rutgers.
That one looks very good, and we'll keep you posted on the stuff that we watch. As always, thank you for listening. This is episode number 25. Later.
Peace.